The storm had swallowed the Arizona mountains before Clara Bennett reached the river. For 3 days she had been running. She no longer remembered how many miles she had traveled. Her feet were blistered, her dress was torn, and the cold night air cut through the thin shawl wrapped around her shoulders. Every time she heard the distant sound of a horse, she expected Victor Hale to appear behind her. She had spent 23 years believing that the world was supposed to be safe if a woman obeyed the people around her. Her father had taught her to obey. Victor had demanded it. But Clara had finally discovered that obedience could become another word for imprisonment. So she had run. Now she had nowhere left to run to. The moon disappeared behind thick clouds. Rain began falling through the trees. Clara stumbled down the rocky slope, grabbed a branch, and nearly fell. "I can't." Her voice disappeared beneath the wind. She looked around. Nothing. No house. No road. No town. Only mountains. She sank to her knees. Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. "Please." She closed her eyes. "I just need somewhere safe." Then she saw a faint orange glow. A fire. Clara lifted her head. At first, she thought she was imagining it. Then she saw another light, and another. Campfires, people, hope. She forced herself to stand. Every step hurt, but she walked toward the lights. She didn't know that she was approaching an Apache camp. She didn't know that the man watching her from beside the largest fire was one of the most respected warriors in the surrounding territory. His name was Takoda. Takoda was 32 years old, tall and powerfully built, with long black hair tied into 2 braids. A narrow scar crossed one side of his jaw, a reminder of a battle he had survived years earlier. He was sitting beside the fire, sharpening his knife, when he heard something. A branch snapped. Takoda immediately looked toward the darkness. His hand moved to the weapon at his side. The other warriors had not noticed. Takoda listened. Footsteps. Uneven. Slow. Someone was coming. He stood. "Who is there?" No answer. The footsteps continued. Takoda moved away from the fire. He entered the darkness. Then Clara stumbled into view. She froze when she saw him. Takoda froze too. For several seconds, they simply stared at each other. Clara had never seen a man like him. He looked dangerous, but his eyes were calm. Takoda noticed her condition immediately. She was exhausted, she was cold, and she was terrified. He lowered his hand from his weapon. "You are hurt?" Clara tried to answer. Nothing came out. Her knees buckled. Takoda caught her before she hit the ground. He carried her toward the fire. The Apache women immediately approached. One of the older women, Naya, brought a blanket. Another prepared warm water. Takoda carefully placed Clara beside the fire. "She is freezing," Naya said. "I know." Clara opened her eyes. She saw the faces surrounding her. Fear returned. "Please." Takoda crouched beside her. "No one will hurt you." "How do I know?" "You don't." His honest answer surprised her. Takoda continued. "But you can stay until you decide whether to trust us." Clara looked toward the fire. Then she whispered the words she had been afraid to say. "I have nowhere else to go." Takoda looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Then stay." Those 2 words broke something inside her. She began crying. Not because she was afraid. Because, for the first time in days, someone had told her she didn't have to keep running. The Apache women gave her dry clothing and food. Clara ate slowly. She expected questions. There were none. She expected demands. There were none. She expected someone to ask what she could offer in exchange for shelter. Nobody did. Instead, Naya sat beside her and quietly braided her wet hair. Clara almost cried again. The kindness felt unfamiliar. Later that night, Takoda remained beside the fire. Clara sat beneath a blanket several feet away. "Why are you still awake?" she asked. "I watch the camp." "Because of me?" "Because it is my duty." She studied him. "You don't trust me." Takoda looked at her. "I don't know you." "That isn't the same thing." "No." His eyes softened. "It isn't." Clara looked into the flames. "My name is Clara." Takoda nodded. "Takoda. Takoda." He almost smiled. "You say it strangely." "How should I say it?" He told her. She tried again. This time he smiled. It was small, but Clara noticed. She had not seen a man smile at her without wanting something from her in a long time. The next morning, Clara woke to sunlight. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she heard horses. She stepped outside. The Apache camp was already awake. People were preparing food. Children were laughing. Men were checking horses. Women were working together. It was not the frightening place Clara had imagined. It was a community. Takoda stood near the horses. He noticed her. "You should rest." "I have rested enough. You almost collapsed yesterday." "I don't want to be useless." Takoda looked at her. "Resting isn't useless." She smiled. "You always talk like that?" "Like what?" "Like every sentence has a lesson." Takoda's mouth lifted slightly. "Maybe you ask too many questions." For the first time, Clara laughed. The sound surprised both of them. Days passed. Clara slowly became stronger. She helped Naya prepare meals. She learned which plants could be used for medicine. She helped repair clothing. Takoda watched quietly. One afternoon, Clara tried to carry a heavy basket. Takoda took it from her. "I can carry it." "I know." "Then why did you take it?" "Because I wanted to." She looked at him. "That's different." "How?" "Most people take things from me because they think they have a right to them." Takoda's expression became serious. "I am not most people." Clara believed him. That was what frightened her. She was beginning to trust him. One evening, Takoda returned from scouting the nearby hills. Clara was waiting near the fire. "You were gone all day." "Yes." "Were you in danger?" "No." She looked relieved. Takoda noticed. "You were worried." "No." "You were." Clara looked away. "Maybe a little." Takoda sat beside her. "Why?" She didn't answer immediately. Then she whispered, "Because you're the first person who made me feel safe." Takoda looked into the fire. Those words reached somewhere inside him that he had kept closed for years. He had lost someone once, a woman named Ayana. She had been kind, strong, brave. Takoda had loved her. Then she died during an attack. After that, he had convinced himself that love was weakness. But Clara was making that belief harder to maintain. He looked at her. "You should not depend on me for your safety." Clara frowned. "Why?" "Because one day I may not be here." She looked directly into his eyes. Takoda stared at her. That answer impressed him. The next morning, he began teaching her how to read tracks, how to recognize danger, how to handle a horse, how to move quietly through the wilderness. Clara learned quickly. She also discovered that Takoda was patient. When she made mistakes, he never laughed. When she succeeded, he simply nodded. One afternoon, she fell from a horse. Takoda ran toward her. "Clara!" She sat in the dirt, embarrassed. "I am fine." "You could have broken your neck." "But I didn't." He helped her stand. Their faces were suddenly inches apart. Clara felt his breath. Takoda looked into her eyes. For a moment, neither moved. Then he stepped away. "You should rest." Clara smiled. "Again?" "Yes." "You're afraid of something." Takoda looked at her. "I am." "What?" He didn't answer. But Clara already knew. He was afraid of caring about her. That night, they sat beside the fire. The stars filled the sky. Clara whispered, "Do you ever think about the future?" "Sometimes." "What do you see?" "My people." "And yourself?" Takoda was silent. "I don't know." Clara looked at him. I see myself somewhere safe. Where? She smiled faintly. Takoda watched her. He wanted to say something. Instead, he said, "You can stay here as long as you need." Clara looked at him. "What if I want to stay longer than I need?" Takoda's heart beat faster. "Then you can." She smiled. Neither realized that someone else was watching from the distant ridge. A rider. A man carrying a rifle. A man who had followed Clara into the mountains. Victor Hale had finally found them. The next morning, Takoda noticed unfamiliar horse tracks near the edge of camp. His expression hardened. Clara saw it. "What happened?" she asked. Takoda crouched beside the tracks. "Someone was here." "Who?" she asked. He looked toward the distant mountains. "I don't know." But deep down, he already suspected. Victor was coming, and this time, Clara was no longer alone. She had found people willing to stand beside her. More importantly, she had found Takoda. The man who had opened his fire to a frightened stranger was slowly becoming something much more dangerous to Clara's heart. He was becoming the man she loved. And before the next sunset, Takoda would be forced to choose between protecting Clara from the man hunting her, and revealing just how much she had come to mean to him. The morning after Takoda discovered the unfamiliar tracks, the Apache camp felt different. Nothing looked unusual to Clara. The sun rose over the Arizona mountains. Smoke drifted from the cooking fires. Horses moved quietly between the trees. Children played near the shelters while the older members of the camp began their morning work. But Takoda noticed everything. He noticed the silence of the birds. He noticed where the grass had been disturbed. Most importantly, he noticed the tracks leading toward the southern ridge. Someone had been watching them. Someone had been close enough to see the camp, and Takoda knew exactly who it might be. Victor Hale. Clara found him near the horses. "You haven't eaten," she said. Takoda didn't answer. She stepped closer. "What's wrong?" "Someone followed you." Her face immediately lost its color. "Victor?" "I don't know. But you think it is him?" Takoda looked at her. "Yes." Clara wrapped her arms around herself. "I knew this would happen." Takoda moved closer. "You are safe." "For how long?" He didn't answer. That frightened her more than anything. For the next several hours, Takoda quietly prepared the camp. The warriors checked the surrounding hills. The women moved the children toward a safer location. No one panicked. The Apache people had survived difficult times before. But Clara felt responsible. "If I leave, they won't have to fight." Takoda immediately shook his head. "You are not leaving. Because of me, Victor will bring trouble here. He brought trouble when he decided you belonged to him." Clara looked at him. "I don't want anyone hurt." "Neither do I." "No." She stared at him. "You cannot decide that for me." "I know." "Then why are you telling me no?" "Because I am asking you to trust me." Before Clara could respond, a gunshot echoed from the southern ridge. The entire camp became silent. Takoda reached for his weapon. A rider appeared beyond the trees. Then another. Then 4 more. Victor Hale had come. Clara recognized him immediately. Her body went rigid. Victor rode at the front, dressed in a black coat despite the desert heat. His expression was cold and confident. He stopped his horse at the edge of the camp. "Clara." She stepped backward. Takoda moved in front of her. Victor laughed. "So this is where you've been hiding." Takoda's voice was calm. "She is not hiding." Victor looked at him. "Who are you?" "Takoda." Victor glanced at the warriors surrounding him. "I don't care who you are." Takoda's eyes narrowed. "You should." Victor pointed toward Clara. "She belongs to me." Clara stepped from behind Takoda. "No." Victor's expression changed. "You don't understand what you're saying." "I understand perfectly. You are my promised wife." "I never agreed." "Your father agreed." "My father is dead." Victor smiled cruelly. Then you have no one to protect you. Takoda stepped forward. She has us. Victor laughed. You think a group of Indians can keep me from taking what is mine? The camp became completely silent. Takoda's face remained calm, but his eyes changed. She is not yours. Victor reached for his gun. The Apache warriors immediately raised their weapons. Victor stopped. He looked around. He understood that one wrong movement could end badly. You're making a mistake, Victor said. You are. Victor backed his horse away. This isn't finished. He turned and rode into the wilderness. Clara watched him disappear. Her hands were trembling. Takoda noticed. He approached her. You're safe. She shook her head. He will return. Yes, and next time he'll bring more men. Takoda didn't deny it. That evening, Clara sat alone beside the river. She watched the water move over the stones. Takoda found her there. You should not be alone. I needed to think. He sat beside her. For several moments, neither spoke. Finally, Clara said, If I stay, people could die. Takoda looked at the river. If you leave, Victor will find you. I could keep running. For how long? She didn't answer. Takoda continued. You cannot spend the rest of your life running from a man who believes he owns you. Tears filled her eyes. And what am I supposed to do? Takoda looked at her. There is one way. What? Marry me. Clara froze. The river continued flowing beside them. What did you say? Marry me. She stared at him. You don't love me. Takoda looked away. I didn't say that. Then why? Because if you are my wife, Victor cannot legally claim you. That all I am to you? A woman you need to protect? No. His answer came immediately. Clara stopped. Takoda stood too. I care about you. How much? He looked into her eyes. More than I should. Her heart began beating faster. But if we marry, he continued, you will not belong to me. Clara frowned. What do you mean? You will still make your own choices. And if I want to leave, I will help you. Even if I leave you? Yes. She looked at him as though she had never heard such words before. Why? Because love without choice is not love. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Victor had always said love meant possession. Takoda was telling her the opposite. She whispered, I'm afraid. So am I. You are? Yes. Why? Takoda took a slow breath. Because I am beginning to care about what happens to you. Clara looked down. Why me? I don't know. He smiled faintly. Maybe because you walked into my camp during a storm and changed everything. She laughed through her tears. You make it sound like I planned it. I know you didn't. She looked toward the mountains. What would our marriage be like? Takoda answered honestly. You would have your own space. She looked at him, forced to do anything. She nodded. You could leave whenever you wanted. Her voice trembled. And if I stay? Takoda's eyes softened. Then I will spend every day trying to deserve it. Clara looked away, because she didn't want him to see her crying. She had spent her entire life being told what she must do. For the first time, someone was asking what she wanted. She reached for his hand. Takoda looked down. I will marry you. His fingers closed gently around hers. Are you certain? No. He almost smiled. Good. She laughed softly. Why is that good? Because you should never say yes to something important, because you are afraid. She looked at him. Then let me say it again. She stepped closer. I choose you. Takoda's expression softened. I choose you too. Their wedding took place 3 days later. There was no grand church, no expensive dress, no wealthy guests. Instead, the Apache camp gathered beneath the open sky. Clara wore a simple cream-colored dress, given to her by the women of the camp. Her hair was decorated with small flowers. Takoda wore traditional Apache clothing, his long black hair braided and tied behind his shoulders. As Clara approached, Takoda could not look away. Naya stood beside Clara. "You are sure?" Clara smiled. "For the first time in my life." The ceremony was simple, but Clara felt something she had never felt at her first arranged engagement. Kiss. When she stood beside Takoda, she didn't feel like property. She felt like a woman making a choice. Afterward, the camp celebrated with food, music, and laughter. Takoda and Clara sat beside the fire. "You are my wife now," Takoda said. Clara smiled. "Does that frighten you?" "Yes." She laughed. "Why?" "Because I have never been responsible for making someone this happy." Clara looked at him. "You don't have to make me happy." "What?" "I was unhappy before I met you." She took his hand. "You didn't create my happiness." She smiled. "You gave me somewhere safe enough to find it." Takoda stared at her. Then he gently touched her cheek. "I think I love you." Clara's breath caught. "You think?" "I've never said it before." She smiled. "Then perhaps you should practice." Takoda laughed quietly. "I love you." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too." Their first kiss was gentle. It wasn't a kiss of possession. A promise that neither of them would force the other to stay. Days passed. Their marriage slowly became real. Takoda taught Clara how to ride across the open desert. Clara learned to recognize the mountains and the stars. She helped care for the camp. She laughed more. Takoda changed too. The warrior who had once preferred silence began telling Clara stories about his childhood. He told her about his mother, his father, his first horse, the dreams he once had. And eventually, he told her about Ayana, the woman he had loved and lost. Clara listened without jealousy. "You never forgot her," she said. "No, you don't have to." Takoda looked at her. "Why aren't you angry?" "Because loving me doesn't require you to erase your past." He stared at her. That was when he realized how deeply he had fallen for her. One evening, Clara sat beside him beneath the stars. "Takoda?" "Yes?" "I think I am falling in love with you all over again." He smiled. "Good. Why?" "Because I think I am too." They leaned toward each other, but before they could kiss, a distant gunshot echoed through the mountains. Takoda immediately stood. His expression hardened. Another shot followed, then another. The horses began to panic. Takoda grabbed his weapon. Clara rose. "Victor?" Takoda looked toward the darkness. "Yes." This time, Victor had not come to threaten them. And Takoda knew the next battle would decide whether their fragile new marriage survived. But there was one thing Victor did not understand. Clara was no longer the frightened woman who had arrived at Takoda's fire. She had found her voice. She had found her courage. And she had chosen her husband. This time, she would not run. The first gunshot shattered the quiet of the Apache camp. Takoda was already moving before the echo disappeared. He grabbed his rifle and stepped toward the edge of the camp. Horses screamed in the darkness. Children were hurried toward the shelters by the older women, while the warriors took positions among the trees. Clara stood beside the fire, frozen. She knew that sound. Victor had returned. But this time, the fear inside her felt different. Before meeting Takoda, fear had always controlled her. Now it made her angry. Takoda turned toward her. "Clara, go with Naya." She shook her head. "No, this is not a request." She looked directly into his eyes. "You promised I would always have a choice." Takoda paused. "I did." "Then let me choose." His jaw tightened. "I want you somewhere safe." "I know. Victor wants you." "I know. He will use you to hurt me." Clara stepped closer. "Then we face him together." Takoda stared at her. The woman standing before him was not the same woman who had collapsed beside his fire weeks earlier. That woman had been exhausted and frightened. This woman was still afraid. But she had learned that courage did not mean having no fear. It meant refusing to let fear decide your life. Takoda finally nodded. Stay close to me. I will. Another shot echoed through the canyon. A horse raced into the camp. Its rider shouted a warning. They are coming from the east. Takoda immediately gave orders. The Apache warriors moved through the darkness like shadows. They knew the land. They knew every ridge, every narrow path, every hidden trail. Victor and his men believed they had surrounded the camp. They were wrong. The Apache people had already surrounded them. Clara remained near the women and children. Naya touched her shoulder. You should be afraid. I am. Then why are you smiling? Clara looked toward Takoda. Because I know he is fighting for something he loves. Naya smiled. And you? Clara's eyes followed Takoda. I am fighting for the same thing. The battle began. Victor's men fired from the ridge. The Apache warriors answered from hidden positions. The darkness filled with shouting, horses, and gunfire. Takoda moved from one position to another, directing his people. Then he saw Victor. Victor was moving toward the center of the camp. Toward Clara. Takoda's heart dropped. Clara! She turned. Victor stepped from behind a tree. His gun was raised. You're coming with me. Clara froze. Takoda moved forward. Leave her. Victor smiled. You still don't understand. His eyes remained fixed on Clara. She belongs to me. Clara's fear returned. But this time, she did not step backward. She stepped forward. No. Victor frowned. What? You are my promised wife. I was never your wife. You signed the agreement. I was forced. Victor's expression darkened. You think this Apache can give you a better life? Clara looked at Takoda. He already has. Victor raised his weapon. Takoda moved between them. Walk away. Victor laughed. You would die for her? Takoda didn't hesitate. Yes. Victor fired. The shot struck Takoda in the shoulder. He fell backward. Takoda. Clara ran to him. Victor grabbed her arm. Now, you're coming with me. She fought him. No. He pulled harder. You don't have a choice. Clara suddenly stopped struggling. Victor looked confused. Then she looked directly into his eyes. You're wrong. She reached for the rifle lying near Takoda. Victor tried to stop her. Clara grabbed it first. She turned. The weapon was pointed directly at him. Victor froze. You won't shoot. Clara's hands were shaking, but her voice was calm. You're right. Victor smiled. Then Clara continued, because I don't need to. A horn sounded from the ridge. Victor looked around. Apache warriors had surrounded him. His men were being forced to surrender. The fight was over. Victor slowly lowered his weapon. Takoda remained on the ground, blood soaking his shirt. Clara dropped the rifle and rushed to him. Stay with me. Takoda opened his eyes. You didn't run. She laughed through her tears. You told me I could choose. She squeezed his hand. I chose you. Takoda smiled weakly. That was foolish. Probably. He closed his eyes. Clara's heart stopped. Takoda? No response. Takoda! His eyes opened again. I'm still here. She cried against his chest. You scared me. I know. You could have died. I know. Don't ever do that again. Despite the pain, Takoda smiled. I'll try. The wound was serious, but the bullet had missed the bone. The Apache healers worked through the night. Clara never left his side. For days, she stayed beside him. She brought him water, changed his bandages, fed him when he was too weak to sit. Takoda complained. You need sleep. So do you. I am injured, and I'm worried. That is not an illness. It is when you love someone. Takoda looked at her. You said it. Clara smiled. What? You said you love me. I've said it before. Not like that. She touched his cheek. I love you. Takoda took her hand. I love you too. Their marriage changed after that battle. Before it had begun as protection, now it had become something deeper. They were no longer husband and wife because Victor threatened Clara. They were husband and wife because they had chosen each other. Victor was taken away to face the consequences of his actions. The fraudulent agreement he had used to control Clara was exposed. Several people from Red Hollow testified against him. Clara finally learned that she had never legally belonged to him. She had always been free. The realization left her strangely quiet. One afternoon, she sat beside the river. Takoda joined her, his injured shoulder slowly healing. You're thinking too much, Takoda said. Clara smiled. I was never Victor's wife. No. I was never his property. No. She looked at the water. All those months, I was afraid of something that was never real. Takoda sat beside her. The fear was real, he said. She looked at him. But now it's gone. Takoda nodded. What will you do? Clara smiled. For the first time, yes. I will choose. He smiled. What will you choose? She leaned against his shoulder. You. Takoda kissed her forehead. You don't have to choose me because I saved you. I know. Then why? Because you never tried to save me by controlling me. She looked into his eyes. You taught me how to stand on my own. Takoda smiled. And now? Now I want to stand beside you. Spring arrived slowly. Snow disappeared from the higher mountains. The desert filled with small flowers. The Apache camp became peaceful again. Clara was no longer treated as an outsider. She had become part of the community. She learned more about the Apache traditions and the people she had come to love. She also continued helping the women with food, medicine, and sewing. Takoda returned to riding. His shoulder remained stiff, but he refused to complain. One evening he returned from a long ride and found Clara waiting beside their home. She was holding something. What is that? He asked. She smiled. A surprise. She opened her hand. Inside was a small necklace she had made herself. It contained a simple carved wooden pendant. Takoda looked at it. You made this? Yes. Why? Because I wanted to give you something. He touched it gently. What does it mean? Clara smiled. It means home. Takoda looked at her. Home? Yes. She stepped closer. When I arrived here, I thought I had nowhere else to go. Takoda's eyes softened. And now? Now I have somewhere I want to stay. He pulled her into his arms. The mountains stretched behind them. The evening sky turned gold. For a moment Clara remembered the terrified woman she had once been. She remembered running through the storm. She remembered collapsing beside Takoda's fire. She remembered whispering that she had nowhere else to go. But that woman had changed. She had discovered that a home was not simply a roof. A home was a place where you can speak without fear. A place where your choices mattered. A place where someone could love you without owning you. Takoda had given her that, and she had given him something too. After years of loneliness, she had shown him that his heart was not broken beyond repair, that love could return, that happiness could exist after loss, that two people who had once been strangers could become family. That night they sat beside the fire. Clara rested her head against Takoda's shoulder. Do you remember the first night? She asked. Yes, he said. I was terrified. You were, he agreed. I thought I was going to die. You almost did, Takoda replied, looking into her eyes. She smiled. And you carried me to your fire. I did, he said. Why? She asked. He thought for a moment. Because you needed someone, he said. Clara smiled. And now? She whispered. Takoda wrapped his arm around her. Now I need you, he said. She looked up at him. You're not alone anymore, she said. I know, he replied. The fire crackled. The stars appeared above the mountains. Clara whispered, I have nowhere else to go. Takoda smiled. You don't need anywhere else. She leaned closer. Because this is home? She asked. He kissed her forehead. Because you chose it, he said. Clara closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, the future did not frighten her. She had not been rescued from one man's control, only to fall under another man's control. She had been given something much more precious, and she had chosen Takoda, the Apache warrior who had opened his fire to a stranger, the man who protected her without possessing her, the husband who loved her without taking away her freedom. And beneath the endless Arizona sky, their love became a quiet legend, not because it began with wealth or power, but because two wounded hearts had found each other when both believed they had nothing left. Clara once cried that she had nowhere else to go. Now she knew the truth. She had not been searching for somewhere to run. She had been searching for somewhere she could finally stay.